Hey guys, it's Holly, aka Potter Minifig Pals, and today I wanted to show you how I make my minifigure display frames. I made a video a couple of weeks ago showing off my entire Harry Potter minifigure collection, or at least majority of it, because it's all displayed in frames like this. There's one hanging up on my wall above my bed full of like all of my old school Harry Potter figures, and then I've got like two giant display cases on top of a bookshelf. And then a couple of weeks ago I bought this other frame from IKEA with the intention of putting all my Star Wars figures in it. I'm probably gonna have to make another one because now I have a lot of Star Wars figures and they won't all fit in this frame. So this is just like original trilogy slash like Death Star ones. I want to do like a Clone Wars and a prequels one as well. That would be really cool. So today I just wanted to kind of walk you through how I made this. For me, it was a lot of trial and error. I did this one first and it was pretty easy, and then the display frames was like a bit easier because it was like a felt background. You might also notice that there's a brick missing. I didn't have enough and I didn't think about that. So here's a very infomercial style tutorial. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you learn something new, and yeah, this is definitely my favorite way to display minifigures, and the ones that aren't in frames I just like keep in Ziploc bags in a storage container so that they're protected and like don't get dusty and things like that. Right, younglings, so first things first, grab yourself a frame of your choosing, but make sure it's a shadow box because you'll need the width, and if you're confused to how thick it needs to be, then just use a Pixar character for reference. It's that simple. The one I'm using is a 9x9 ripper frame from IKEA. However, upon further research, this doesn't actually exist anymore, so you're on your own. Some other handy supplies you'll need are scissors, card in your desired color. In this case, I've chosen white. Like me. Your beloved minifigs, some bricks. For this frame, I'll be using inverted slopes and your new best friend, super glue. Step 1. Grab your frame and flip it and reverse it like Missy Elliott, then grab one of your brick separators to lift up all the metal tabs. I actually learned this trick off Reddit, so it's not my idea, don't credit me for that. Pull out all the useless layers and keep the one with the hole in it to use as a guide to trace. Step 2. Grab a pencil because I really don't trust you with a pen, and outline the layer onto your card. I found it a lot easier if you line it up with an edge or two. Step 3. Use your safety scissors to cut out your shape, and if you fail to cut straight lines in grade 3, then maybe skip the scissors and just go straight to a guillotine. Step 4. Whip out your bricks and start to space them out as desired. I highly recommend making a plan of this and kind of pre-doing it and then taking a photo to use as reference. Here's one I prepared earlier. For this frame in particular, I found it best to have 3 rows with 6 columns in each because you want your minifigures to be socially distancing, otherwise they're going to whack each other with their accessories and it's going to look weird. This is my first time as well having an individual brick for each minifigure, so it took me a very long time to work out how to get them all in line and evenly spaced, especially since I didn't want to use a ruler. I highly recommend using one though because it would make it a lot easier. I find it best to start at the bottom and do the entire bottom row and then do your first column up the side so you have an idea of how far apart they will be and how high they need to be away from each other. Once you have then placed your figures, you need to find something with a completely flat edge so that you can line them all up perfectly. Once again, this will be a prime opportunity to use a ruler, however I didn't want to do that, so I pulled out a makeup palette instead. Once it was time to glue my first few bricks on, I drew 3 small dots in the center with pencil. Make sure you use pencil because you want it to be like Snapchat and just completely erase everything after a certain period of time. Step 5. Make sure all of your bricks are lined up using your object with the flat surface. Because it is now time to grab your super glue and start gluing these bricks down, and believe me, there is no room for error with this. As I was only gluing plastic bricks down to a piece of card, it did not take long to dry. So just like when you play a shooter game with a team, there is no room for error. With row 1 complete, you can now move on to row 2, which is considerably harder as now you need to line everything up vertically as well. Young me of 3 hours ago did not realize that this was going to be a lot harder than I thought. So initially I grabbed another object with a flat surface, which funnily enough was another makeup palette because I still hadn't learned to go grab a ruler. Place the remaining 2 rows on top of each other so that you know the height difference between each row, and then try and line them up vertically. Once you have a good idea of where your figures are going to be going, line up your makeup palettes to make sure that all of the bricks are lined up accurately. And it was at this point that I realized that both makeup palettes were not going to do, so I went hunting for another box with a flat edge. A 15-minute long scavenger hunt across the entire house resulted in me just walking into my wardrobe and picking up a box of a PC fan. The pro of this box is that it had 2 completely flat edges but also had a picture of the pretty RGB fan on the front. However, the downside is it only had 2 flat edges. Because this box was a skinny legend, it meant I could place it up vertically and then line up all of my bricks horizontally. I then used the makeup palette on the side to make sure that everything also lined up vertically. Using an incredible amount of precision, I tried to make sure that this piece was all lined up and level with the other bricks. And by some miracle, it worked. Once the end brick was in place though, I didn't realize that I'd then have to struggle because there was a tiny skinny gap in between the rest of them. So I then flipped the makeup palette around, which in hindsight was an awful idea because this entire second row is slightly wonky. So for row 3, I kind of of switched up my tactics a bit and started using bricks to help me align the frames vertically, which worked a bit better, and honestly the third row turned out a lot straighter than the second, which I really appreciate. You could really tell how wonky I stuck the bricks down as soon as I put Obi-Wan on the spot because he's just tilting sideways. It's like the Leaning Tower of Obi-Wan. I tried to twist it back on center, but you know, it's super glue. I don't even know why I thought that would work in the first place. Bit by bit, I finished up the third level until I realized that I was one brick short, so there was going to be a massive gaping hole, and because I had already stuck one on the end, that meant that hole had to be in the middle somewhere. Once all the bricks were down, it was finally time to put all the figures in their spot, and I did the second row first as I wanted to make sure that that first row had completely dried up. Especially with Princess Leia and the dress piece, because if you put her down too early and the glue is still wet, that dress piece will get stuck to the card. So here's the finished frame again. Yeah, I do need to get one more brick, but other than that, it's pretty much done. I need to get Hoth Leia. I want her to go there. I love these ones because they're very lightweight and they're going to be a lot easier to hang up. I might actually hang this one. I've got a spare hook on the back of the wall, although all the picture frames are going to be at different heights and they're all different sizes, but I'll try that out. Otherwise, this is going to go on a little shelf that sits above my review/build desk. I find these really easy to make. It's just about making time to sit down and like take your time, be patient, make sure you do every single piece one by one. Don't try and rush through it, otherwise something's gonna go wrong and it's gonna look messy and then like you're gonna ruin a brick. Let me know in the comments below how you display your minifigures. I'd love to know because this is personally my favorite way. Like, I've been collecting minifigures for years, so it's awesome to be able to show them off to people in a frame like this. But let me know, do you put them in drawers? Do you just stick them on a shelf? How do you do it? And if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below. And until next time, I'll see you later.